root beer. And he's like, yeah, fizz, so yummy. And he drinks up the green fizz, and then he's all like, whoa, yummy. And then he looks at the menu, and he's like, wow, I got lots of stuff here to eat. That's like steak with some mashed potatoes, and there's like cereal and all sorts of other stuff. And he's like, I'm thinking I'm gonna get steak and mashed potatoes. And he said, this place serves steak and mashed potatoes for breakfast. And he's like, yeah, yummy, steak and mashed potatoes for breakfast. He never gets this for breakfast. His mom never let him have it. But he's like, yes, steak and mashed potatoes! And he gets it. And it's a green steak with green bones and like a green kind of like juicy barbecue sauce dripping over the edge. And there's also mashed potatoes. It's like, yeah, mashed potatoes. And he sees they're green. And he's like, whoa, green mashed potatoes, this is cool. And he pours the green gravy, which is in the green gravy tray, onto his green mashed potatoes, which also happens to be on a green plate, which is kind of weird, because he's wondering why the green plates. I guess you don't really tell the green spills, but then he picks up his silverware, unfolds it from the green napkin with the green sticky paper, and he unfolds it all, and it's all green, like everything. The fork, the knife, the spoon, the butter knife, it's all green. And then he pulls it all together, he pulls it all apart, and starts digging into his mashed potatoes. He's digging in, he's just thinking it's so yummy. And then, now, he's just going to be eating that for a while. It's a big, like, 20-ounce steak and, like, 5,000-ounce mashed potatoes, so he's like, yeah. And then he goes and he's like, okay. Now, back in wherever on Earth they were, I forget. Steve Jobs. Yes, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs. Now, he just died, so he's not that happy, because he's kind of dead. So, he kind of, like, so he's walking along, and he's walking along. You're all. Now, he's walking along, and he's dead, so it's kind of door for him to go. But suddenly, out of nowhere, he sees a door. And it says, on a green sign, with green writing. And it says, ooh. No, it says, welcome to the adventures of the land of green. We're close. And yeah, he's like, wow, adventures. When I'm dead, this was cool. This is a high quality death. And he opens it up, walks in, and he walks straight onto a green trail with some green gravel, a little bit of green grass sticking out, some green weeds. And then there's a green tree going right up the middle. So there's a green tree with green bark and green branches, and he sees this green tree, and he's like, wow, green trees? Wow, in America, in California, we don't have green trees.
Are you guys going to listen, or are you just going to start over?
Brown ones. And he's like, wow, cool green trees, mixing it up a bit. So he's walking along, sees a couple green people just doing some jogging. And they're just jogging along, minding their business. They look at him, give him some funny stares. He's kind of white, not green. And then keeps walking for a while, walks through a forest, a green forest, lots of green trees, a little bit of green snow here and there. Then he keeps going, finds a green desert. He's thinking, wow, I've been walking for a while. Been through a forest and a desert. Now, in the middle of the desert, he sees a big green pond. And he's thinking, whoa, big green pond, this is cool. And he's walking, big green pond, that's what's on his mind. He doesn't notice the green sand with multi shades of green rocks. He just notices the pond. And then when he gets there, instead of a pond, it's actually a town. And in the town, there's a green Shell, and then a green 7-Eleven. And it's all green. It's just green stripes, green. And then he's walking along, and he's loving the green. At his place, it's so multicolored. It's not just one thing. That's it. So he's walking along, and he goes and he sees a Walmart, and a green Walmart with like green wall and mart, and he's hating it because Walmart like destroys his products of Appleness, and he doesn't like them. So he doesn't like them. So he just ignores them and looks the other way, and then kind of walks into a green hotel with green siding and green triangles for windows. Yep, triangular windows. And he's loving the triangles. Now, he's like, oh, you're triangles. And he's walking, rings the green doorbell, and the woman, she opens up the green doorknob, and she's green with like some green boogers sticking out. She hasn't blown nose in a while with her green puffs tissues. Now Steve. Now he's thinking that's nasty. He pulls out a Kleenex and gives it to her. Now it's a white Kleenex because where he's from they only have white Kleenexes. And he's like, here, white Kleenexes, and she's like, what is this white stuff? And she like throws it on the ground and oh, I'm sorry. She doesn't like it. So he's like, okay, doesn't like the white. Okay. And then he's like, okay, can I stay the night? And she's like, yeah, we take 10 people too. So she brings him up to like the top floor. Now, that's like the 10 people section. He also sees like Washington and those guys. And he starts chatting with them. And then they kind of like kick him out because he doesn't like it. They don't like him. And then he goes, walks along the green carpet, green hallway, green walls, some green strobe lights blinking in different shades of green. It's just like, and then he walks into his room and he sees a green TV hooked up with a green set of Apple TV with a green iPad mini and a green iPhone 5 with a green strobe light going off because he's got a notification. And he's just, whoa, Apple Mania! He's got like an Apple bed from the future. And he's like, whoa, Apple future stuff. And he's like, oh, did apples turn green now? Okay. And he's all like, whoa. And then he starts checking out all the Apple stuff, doing some airplay with his iPad mini on the Apple TV, and he's playing some jetpack joyride, but the jetpacks shoot out green fire instead of red. And he's like, whoa, green fire. And he's starting that's the machine gun jetpack. If you get the chrome-plated afterburner, it's fire. But he's got the green chrome-plated afterburner jetpack, and he's collecting the green coins with gemology and coin magnet upgrades on. And they're green. Like, his whole screen's green, which is like different shades. And he's like, yeah, green. And he's loving it. And he's winning at jetpack joy. He's at like 2,000 feet already. And then, like Mr. Cuddles, like a rogue Mr. Cuddles just comes out of nowhere and starts eating them up. And he's like, throws his iPad mini at the wall, and it like shatters instantly. It's because it's mini, so it has less protection. And then he's like, I'm taking a nap. And he hops in his green Sleep Country memory foam bed with green pocket coils and green sheets and green pillows and green stuffing and a green little mint on the pillow. He has a mint stuffing on it. Mitt Romney had a chocolate because he's alive. Now, he eats the mint. He's like, Then he falls asleep because the hotel lady kind of slipped some sleeping medicine into the mint because she's a sneaky gypsy. And he's sleeping, wakes up, and he wakes up downstairs in the dining room, and he's sitting at a table, and the lady's right there, waiting for him to wake up, still with the green boogers, hanging out, asking him what he wanted to drink, and he said, I'm thinking I'll have a root beer. And so she gets him a green root beer with a green bendy straw and a green frosted A&W glass. And she's like, A&W root beer, this is quality stuff. And she's like, what would you like to eat? And he looks at the menu, he sees the steak and potatoes, he sees the Fruit Loops, the Cap'n Crunch, the Lucky Charms, the Raisin Bran, and it's all in green font. It's like green Algerian font, and it's in like 32 font size, and it's green, and green paper too. Green like tinted green plastic covers. And he's like, okay, whatever, they like the green, that's fine. He opens it up. He already opened it up. He closes it and then opens it again because he wants like a breeze against his face. And then he looks around. He's like, okay, it's a decent selection. He says he'll get the Cap'n Crunch. And she comes up and asks him, would you like Cocoa Cap'n Crunch or just regular Cap'n Crunch? And he says, I haven't had Cocoa Cap'n Crunch in a while, so I'm going to go with the Cocoa. And she brings him the Cocoa Cap'n Crunch. And it's covered in green whipped cream, and it's got green milk, and it's got this green cereal. And he's like, what? Cocoa Cap'n Crunch isn't green. But he's like, okay, maybe it's like new style cocoa. And he's loving new style cocoa, and to him it tastes much better. Probably because of the whipped cream stuff, the green whipped cream. Now, he's drinking his green root beer, his green frosted A&W glass with a green bendy straw, and he's drinking it. And then suddenly, some like President George Washington jumps off